Look at that. Into the spokes. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. Today we're gonna index our gears on our rear derailleurs. So let's go. So what you will need for this encounter is a hex tool. It normally is a 5mm hex, but really depending on the rear derailleur, this can be a 4mm as well, just as the new Shimano 105. Then you will need a screwdriver. I have mine in my tool as well, over here. Or it can be that you will also need some really small hex keys. That's the case with the 105 derailleur to index the gears. Normally they are just screwdriver screws. Some more modern and advanced derailleurs have Allen keys, which is really great, I think, because you're less likely to damage a screw with the hex keys than the screwdriver, so I really rate that. Then what you will need is to set up your bike on a stand like this, or really just anything that lifts your bike up and lets you spin your wheel freely without interrupting your workflow. Once you undo the cable, you'll see the chain will drop right down because there's no tension on it right now. Then the adjustment screw, you want to screw that all the way back clockwise and then go like 10 clicks anti-clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's in the middle. Then you have still a little room to play around. Next up, you want to index your stop screws that will stop the derailleur from shifting the chain into the frame or into the spokes, which you really don't want to experience. It will damage your bike really horribly. In my case, I have a 2mm hex with which I will adjust those stops. And you always have two letters, an L and an H letter that index. The screws are always named with an L and an H. L means light gear or low gear, to spin easily, so the lightest gear with which you normally climb mountains. And the H screw, which is for high gear or heavy gear, or I don't know, I don't really know the official name. But what's really important is that you know which one is H, which one is L. L is always the biggest cock, H is always the smallest cock. Then you want to just test out if the chain is secure or not. Shift your chain to the smallest cock. For that is always an advantage to shift into the big dog in front, because the chain won't have this cross chain position. Then you just pedal and you want to really push your derailleur to the extreme, so push it outwards and really provoke it towards the frame. Control this way that it is actually safe. Let me demonstrate the case in which the screw is not adjusted well enough and it will shift into the frame. By turning the H screw anti-clockwise, we will in fact open up room for the derailleur, so it will shift towards the smallest cock and the frame. So I now turn the H screw anti-clockwise. Let's see what this will get me. You can see it already shifts into the frame, which you really don't want. This is a no-go. Shift it back up and adjust the screw out. So turn the screw clockwise and you will see the derailleur moving towards the cassette. It's really a small movement, but that's where it's at. You want highly precisioned shifting process. Then you want to control the derailleur again, and you see there's no danger at all. But what's with the other case if the derailleur does not shift down low enough? Well, that's the case if the screw is turned in clockwise, but in fact too much. See there, I turned it in clockwise, like overkill, and now the derailleur won't come down. Well, this case is not favorable either, so you want to open up room for the derailleur again until it shifts down. Control it again. There's no shifting into the frame, and it shifts right down into the smallest cock. So we are good for our lower part. This is done, so we need to shift up to the biggest cock to control it. For this position, I highly advise you that you shift into the small dog in the front. So again, there is no cross chaining. Then you want to manually shift your chain all the way up. Here it's really the same process. You just check with the L screw if the derailleur is nicely adjusted. Also here, if you turn the screw anti-clockwise, it will open up room, so it will shift into the spokes, which you really don't want. If you turn it too much clockwise, it will not be able to shift in the biggest cock, so we won't be able to climb mountains, which you really want. So let me demonstrate the case in which it will shift into the spokes, which is really the least thing a cyclist wants to be experiencing. Look at that. Into the spokes. If you are checking the upper position with the L screw, be sure to never spin too much, because if you spin really fast, then the chain will probably go in because it's not adjusted yet, and it will actually shift into the spokes really hard and damage them. So be sure to always go easy and control it in a controlled manner. Then you want just to adjust the L screw. Turn it clockwise to bring it into the position. Maybe go a little bit too far for the beginning because you want to control it, right? And there you see it's not able to shift into the biggest cock. So we need to open it up slightly. And these are really small movements with those little screws. Be sure to go always with small steps and slowly get towards your desired position. And there we go, we really provoke the derailleur towards the biggest cock and it's not shifting into the spokes. So now it's time to adjust your cable tension. And for this manner we have a really like a rule of thumb, which is you shift up 3 gears, of course manually. 1, 2, 3. And from there you can pretty much just put the cable in without putting too much additional tension on it. So just leave it in the gear you are right now and then tighten your bolt. Hand tight is enough for the moment. What's really important here is just that your cable is nicely placed and firmly tightened so it is in a secure place. We can worry about tension later. If you want to adjust the tension, you can just undo it slightly and it will slide the cable through. Go a bit further down, tighten it and check. If you really need to know where your cable goes, it sometimes also helps to just completely undo the screw and check the position of your cable where it needs to go. Once you have inserted your cable and tightened it, it is then time to redo all your steps. So just check if it really shifts down. In my case, it's shifting down nicely and is not shifting into the frame. Here you see that it is in fact not open enough to shift into the smallest cock, so we'll need to redo that. In that case, you only need to open up the screw a tiny bit in order to get the chain up. So we will open up the L screw just a little bit, check it, open it up a little bit more, and each time you open up the L screw you really want to provoke the derailleur again, control that position, and I think we are good. Of course in the end it's always great to shift through all the gears in a like a bit of an exaggerated manner in order to control some extreme cases. Of course you can never provoke an actual life scenario like you would on the bike, but just go as near as possible. And see how that 105 derailleur actually shifts pretty well, pretty fast, which is really, now this is really a recommendation of mine, really nice price performance ratio, 105, really a top notch group set. So that's it from my part. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I will be happy to answer them in order to get you really to your perfected shifting, which will really enhance your biking experience. And thank you very much for watching this video and stay tuned for some more future mechanic instruction videos. Thank you very much.